everyone. Welcome, John Miller, founding attorney from Rock Solid Law. Great to be with you again this week on our continuing series of educational materials regarding the law. Today, we're going to talk specifically about fraud and phishing. You know, when I was a kid growing up, one of my favorite times was when my dad said to me, "Son, let's go fishing." Well, you well know it's not that kind of phishing, right? So we don't like when phishing occurs these days. And how can we best avoid and prevent it? Of course, we practice in three areas of law: estate planning, real estate transactions, and business. And yes, fraud and phishing affect all three of those. And in particular, the title insurance industry involved in the real estate closings has been attacked by fraud, which comes in the form of phishing. So the FBI tells us that wire fraud cost about $3 billion over a 12-month period, and it's growing by 1,000%. So it's here to stay. You wish people had ethics and would do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, but they found that crime pays better. It's really simple what they do, and that's partly why it's growing so quickly. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to pull off phishing. For some reason, we all let our guards down when we're on the internet. So there are four basic steps, and the first is the phishing stage, in which cyber hackers, a lot of times in Eastern Europe or Russia, blast phishing emails to small companies. And when they're opened, they can affect the computers. And then there's the account takeover phase, where the cyber hackers gain access to the CEO or CFO's email and scan for wire receipts. They mimic those emails and request fraudulent wire transfers from companies all over the world: UK, Hong Kong, America. Money muling. Mules in those countries receive the money in their accounts, siphon it back out to the criminal organization, and then rinse and repeat, right? They continue to do that. So cyber fraud is real. In closings, we have been attacked at Rock Solid Law, and I'll tell you a little more about that in just a few minutes. Predominantly, we have been successful in warding it off. So in 2019, the FBI report shows that there were 11,677 victims with $221 million in losses in the U.S. There had only been 11,003 and $150 million in 2018. So as the 2019 numbers come in, we know that it's going to be even bigger. One loss of a sufficient amount can shut down a business or harm it significantly. So no matter how much money we spend, the criminals will continue to target consumers. This is why we must continue to educate people about how they can protect their money, especially when purchasing a home or refinancing a mortgage. And we're going to do some step-by-steps here over the next 20, 25 minutes or so. So, worldwide, 2019, 3.5 billion in losses to individuals and businesses. The most financially costly complaints involved business email compromise, romance or confidence fraud, and spoofing, which is mimicking the account of a person or a vendor known to the victim to gather personal or financial information. Don't give personal and financial information out over the internet. We actually require that people call for the last four digits of a wire so that we have a voice verification in our firm before they can even successfully give us a wire. We also do the same thing in reverse so that we will have their wire instructions. Either they give it to us face to face in a secure memo, and also we voicemail verify. I would radically encourage you to do the same. Okay. Um, I know that they are attacking the elderly. Part of our estate planning practice protects older people, and I know in my own family that they just about had my mother one time, and fortunately, we children were able to put a stop to that. This is a smart lady with a white collar significant career, but as they're older, they become a little more um, easily taken advantage of. And this is partly because it's generational. You know, they didn't grow up with the internet as I didn't. And so they don't know all the things to do. And we have to take care of them. We in the sandwich generation have to take care of our parents. Criminals are getting so sophisticated. It's getting harder and harder for victims to spot the red flags and tell real from fake. We're going to go over some steps that you can do for safe computing that'll help you to avoid some of that. Email is still the common entry point, but it's also happening now on text messages. I'm sure you've seen that. That's called smishing, and even fake websites. So it's really important that you go to the websites you utilize directly through your computer rather than through links someone sent you in an email or text. The same way your bank and online accounts have started to require two-factor authentication, apply that to your life. Verify requests in person or by phone. Double check web or email addresses, and don't follow the links provided in e-message. I was just talking about that a moment ago. So I have been to a couple of briefings. I'm jumping a little bit ahead by the FBI on this subject. It's fascinating and really, really frightening. If you want to do that, sign up for their presentation sometime. But go knowing that it's going to be frightening and freak you out. And it's good that it freaks us out, because maybe that's the only way we really protect ourselves, those we love, our customers and clients. So why do they target the real estate industry? Not a hard one. You realtors that are on the call, I see you. And we know a lot of money passes hands. A purchase of a home or real property are some of the largest purchases most people make in their lives. And therefore, there's a place where these fraudsters know that they can go to get at the money. I am aware of situations where realtors' email addresses were hijacked to get into a chain of email communication. And what they do is they basically figure out when the closing is going to be, and right after it, they'll send an email as if it were from the seller, redirecting the funds to a fraudulent account, sometimes even in the same institution, so it looks real. The email address may be altered by only one letter because our eyes don't necessarily pick that up. You know, for instance, some of you on this call have the letter O in your name. If that letter were in your email, they might just double the O, or double an I, or double an L, or triple an L in a way that our eyes just aren't trained to pick it up. And therefore, we don't see the false and fraudulent email. So let's see. What is phishing or online fraud? I have a white paper on that was presented to me by my tech, and I just want to share a little bit with you. I would be glad to share a couple of different white papers with any of you that want to write us at questions at Rock Solid Law. The first one is, what is phishing or online fraud? And it talks about the warning signs, okay? Again, becoming more sophisticated. They're successful, so why not stop doing it? If you're a criminal, it's a pretty easy way to steal from people. You don't have to threaten getting shot going into somebody's house to rob the safe, right? So What do? They request personal information in an email message. Most legitimate businesses do not do that. They have another way of gathering that information from you. Urgent wording. They're always trying to make you do something really quick, really quick. And I'll give you an instance. We did some months ago have an attack. We've increased our security since and haven't had any, thank goodness, knocking on wood behind me. But in that instance, thankfully, only a couple of $1,000s was involved. And it actually was an attorney was buying a property in Florida. And while he was going back and forth with our legitimate staff, he was also having a separate conversation with the fraudster. And he was in a meeting, and the fraudster said, wire that 2,000 whatever right now. We got to have it, or the closing's not going to happen. And he did it. He did it. We had no idea that was going on. He, of course, acknowledged his error, because on the bottom of every email you get from my office, it's going to say, never wire without a telephone conversation with us, confirmation with us, getting those last 4 digits with us. So you're going to see that kind of strategy adopted by most legitimate businesses. Be careful when somebody's trying to push you to do something really fast. Attachments. A lot of the schemes are to get you to open an attachment. Do not open an attachment from anybody you don't know. And even if you think you know them, my practice is often to send an email back and ask them to verify that it's really you. Dwight, did you really actually mail me this attachment that says it's going to be an unreleased song by U2? That's something that we have in common and enjoy. So he might send that to me, and I might think, oh, great, I'm going to open that up. Boom, they're in my computer. And then they crawl around in there, and they go looking through back emails. And they have programs that look for things that look like wiring information and bank information. And they're going to steal all of that from you, so that sometime in the future, when your guard's down, they can jump into a transaction and steal from you. And if that's scary, yeah, it's scary. And if I'm scaring you, I'm sorry, but it's really out there. I've seen it up close, and I'm going to tell you about that in a minute too. Fake or suspicious links. A lot of times they'll have a link, and I know you've seen it from Amazon or Google or some company that you use regularly and have great faith and confidence in, and somebody's going to send you a link. You're just going to click that link instead of going to your top of your computer and type it in, the name of the website.com or .net. You just click the link, and you know where that took you? Not where you thought you were going. And once you're there, everything they do is in an attempt to steal your information so they can steal from you and use it against you. Additionally, you may get a masked link where you're not, it looks like you're at one place and you're actually at another. Like at the top of the website, it says zoom.us or Zoom webinar right now. It might say that, but you might not be where you think you are. The other one is called a homograph, which is a word with the same spelling as another word, but with a different meaning. In computers, a homograph attack is a web address that looks like a familiar web address, but is actually altered, just like the email address we were talking about earlier. And the purpose is to use a phishing scheme, deceive you, and steal from you. All right, this white paper mentions simple things to protect yourself from online fraud. That's what we're here to talk about today. Monitor your transactions, check your bank accounts. Use credit cards or digital wallets, something like Google Wallet, Apple Pay, PayPal. Never reply to an email that requests your personal information. Don't click links in suspicious emails. Do business only with companies you know and trust online, and make sure that websites use encrypt, easy for me to say on a Thursday morning, encryption. Check for HTTPS:// in the browser bar. Okay, makes sense? I see I've got a chat message. I'll just check on that. One of our participants received about 7 texts yesterday purporting to be from Amazon in her My Prime subscription. Print and also some order I didn't even place. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. That was yesterday. Exactly. Look, this is going on, guys, all the time. And so thank you for being here so we can work on it. So after I went into those FBI briefings and got good and scared, we adopted, this is a 3 years ago, internal controls and procedures intended to thwart the cyber attacks. However, a former closing manager at my firm, and I want to reiterate former, independently elected not to follow those procedures. Why? A friend was involved in the transaction. It was a Friday before a holiday weekend, and she wanted to get their money to them quickly. You know the end of the story and who she sent the money to. The firm suffered a significant 5-figure loss that we personally funded to make sure that our customers, our clients, suffered no loss. I believe I spent 1.5 or 2 years obtaining a partial recovery. The lending institution that allowed them to set up the account really hadn't followed proper protocols. And while never admitting liability, they were able to make me partially whole. But I still suffered a pretty big loss, you guys. It's not in my kids' college savings account at this point. So those are the ones where they're going to strike, right? They saw this casual friendship in the emails, and immediately after the closing, they sent an email which they had picked up through the realtor. I know that because we had never had a direct communication with that person before on this transaction, and were able to gain the funds. So after that situation, I took another step. I adopted and implemented the safe escrow service systems for all future real estate closings, and we've been using that for a couple of years now. Safe Escrow is a company that actually owns the bank that they send and receive from, and they have some fairly onerous and significant, but steps which can be done timely. And what it means to my realtor friends is that you will never again have to worry about wire fraud in our transactions. Once we get the money in, there's no chance of it going out to the wrong person, not to your customer, and of course, not to you and your broker. Never, ever worry about a commission check again. So don't worry about your funds being diverted to an offshore fraudster. And of course, I mentioned we had other policies and procedures and systems put in place to avoid fraud. And thank goodness for an alert client, we were recently able to stop an attempt to steal over $2 million. Think about that. My firm could not sustain a $2 million loss, right? And that client was educated to know to watch for fraud. The fraudsters, using urgency because of COVID, told her that she needed to wire the funds a week ahead of the closing. And she thought, now, John has never asked me to do anything like that before. So she called us up, and sure enough, they had stolen an email. And as I told you a little while ago, we invoked even higher security protocols, and thank goodness at this point, haven't had any other successful attacks. I don't know if you guys use Apple, but you know they had a significant breach this week, and for all of us that use an iPhone, we pretty much had a mandatory update. Was that yesterday or the day before this week that we had to do? So it goes from the littlest companies like Rock Solid Law to the biggest. And all we can do is get more and more educated, take steps necessary, and continue to try to stay ahead of it as our tech helps us do. So the client said, oh, good, I'm going to be a cautionary tale. And I'm really glad that she's a cautionary tale rather than us having had that money diverted from us. I also don't feel like the Lone Ranger because I actually was representing a client on a business transaction, and a nearby title company with an excellent reputation actually had $40,000 of my client's funds stolen. And fortunately, they were insured, or the business broker as well was insured, and those insurances made my client whole. But let me tell you, there's a period of time before that happened, and fortunately, this guy had the wherewithal to continue in the deal by coming up with another 40 grand. But not every client has that sitting around to close the transaction they're in the middle of. So just a little beware there. And always keep your eyes out and be wary. So as I was saying, wire fraud is non-existent in safe escrow transactions because of payee authentication, proprietary technology, cyber management, validation of payoff accounts to wires being released, industry-leading security, certified controls, and it is the most comprehensive certification proving a system is designed to keep client-sensitive data secured. So if you're not closing with us, realtors, other people involved in real estate, I would recommend that you ask the people you are closing with if the systems they have can provide those things. And if you need me to, I can provide you a list of those items I just listed. Again, questions at Rock Solid Law. So you know what? The best part of all, if there ever is a successful attack by fraud in those transactions, safe escrow will make the parties whole. In other words, you and your clients are going to get paid. All right. Once again, the only risk we undertake is if there's an intercepted email prior to the transaction, and that would be the wire coming into us. So we've taken all those steps to make sure that can't happen. And so we do not ever give out the last four in any form other than oral over a phone. And every single email says on the bottom of it, do not wire, in red, big red letters, do not wire without voice authentication. So what we're trying to do is educate, educate, educate. If I can come and talk to any group of people with a mask on, or after we don't have to mask anymore, to talk about these security protocols and to talk about keeping your real estate transactions and other transactions safe, I am happy to do so. Just write to questions and I will come anytime, anywhere to talk about this. All right, so just so you know, it's not all in the real estate area. What I'm holding here is a document redacted, so no important information is shown. But this happened when, after a transaction, a party receives a, quote, recorded deed notice. For all the world, it wants to look like it's an official government document. But y'all, it's not. And they're saying for just some amount of money, and I don't even care what amount of money it is. This one's $95. For some amount of money, they're going to send you a copy of your deed recorded. Guess what? As we tell at every closing, every party gets a copy of the deed recorded, right? Guess what? There's something just like this that comes out to everybody who forms a new business entity. There are trolls out there, and they have a Tallahassee address that when people form a business, they get a notice that for only fill in the blank, man. Is it 95? Is it 195? Is it 295? It looks like it's mandatory, right? Somewhere in the fine print, it says, this is not an official government document, and this is not a mandatory payment. They're basically selling what's on the public record, right? All they do is print it off their computer, make it look official, and send it to the parties. It's the same stuff we give to our clients after we finish a transaction. So please, 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 please help educate people not to pay that money. Gosh, I'm excited today. I'm going a little longer than usual. I hope it works for you guys. I promise you less than 10 more minutes, I think. Right? Lawyer promising not to talk more than 10 minutes. I'm okay with that. I want you guys to get this. There's another white paper I'd be delighted to share with you that comes from our tech department. Safe computing tips. I'm going to glaze over these. It's enough for you to think about. Anybody who wants a copy of this, just let us know at questions@rocksolidlaw.com. By the way, speaking of questions, when we're done, I'll be glad to take questions. As you may have seen, there's a chat bar about right there-ish on your screen. If you do have a question, feel free to ask that. But I think I'm going to try to power through and take those at the end in case anybody's on a time constraint. Like I said, I'm going a little long. 1, keep computer software up to date. Yes, you got to do those updates. You got to go to your source, and that is the App Store, right? Your App Store, or to the actual website of the provider of that software to update it. There's the number 2 is be safe when updating the software. So if you get a notice, don't click directly on the link update. This is what I was just saying. Go to the software vendor's site and download the software, okay? The general rule is, and I quote, don't accept anything that comes to you. Always go get anything you need so it comes from a trusted source. Got that? Trusted source. Find it, use it. 3, be very cautious using email. We already touched on this one. Clicking on links within the email, or what I already say, opening attachments can be very dangerous. Avoid it when you can. Make sure you know the source. Watch for signs of phishing attempts, such as a misshapen logo or misspelled words. One thing I noticed in that situation we went through was the English used was horrible. I'm the son of a preacher and an English major, right? Mom was an English major in college, so we were really hammered on English growing up. But it's really not hard. It's badly used English in those that should have been a red flag. All right. I said this one already before. Number 4 is download new software from the vendor site or the App Store. All right. Number 5 is avoid using work email accounts for any email lists, shopping, electronic greeting cards, etc. Do not use your work email address for anything non-work related. Got it? Get you a Google account, a Gmail account, or whatever account is hip these days. Those of you that know me know I'm not so hip. My band still has an AOL account. Why? If somebody wants to hire my band, I want them to write that same email account they've been writing since the 80s or 90s. Not sure. Anyway, so don't use your email account for anything like that. Don't click on ad banners or websites or emails. I know that's hard. Why? They're there to make you want to click on them. Definitely they want to make you click on them. So if you use a trusted web browser, right? Use one of the ones you know and trust. Vet it before you use it. In the old days, i.e. Internet Explorer, I don't know if anybody uses that now, but Internet Explorer was not safe. If you don't need it, delete it. I know that's hard. That's like being anti-hoarder, right? Oh man, I might need that email someday. Not specifically that, but review the software that runs automatically on your computer. If something's running that you no longer need, get rid of it. Old software that's not updated is a vector for infections, right? That means they spot those, they get in there. Like if they've gotten in your computer, they look around, they see that, they find it. That's like holding the door open for them. And they just come in and take your computer over. Always close the browser window after logging off of any sensitive sites. Banking, credit cards, et cetera, close the window. Got it? And if you use a laptop for travel, don't use open Wi-Fi hotspots. I know that's hard. If you don't have to input a password, it's very dangerous, very dangerous. If you're here at my office, we have a password and we let you log in through our system and use our web. But if you don't have access to that, just don't do it. So, wow, thanks for tuning in, guys. for those of you real estate professionals that are on board, real estate's hard enough for realtors and participating parties. Let's remove one more and more common stressor from your transactions. If you want peace of mind in your real estate transactions and you want to sleep at night, use Rock Solid Law and Safe Escrow. We were maybe the first or one of the first to use it in Northeast Florida. We're still one of the few. I'm really surprised. I'm sure other people have other ways that they believe are appropriate. But we want your transactions to be safe. So what we'd love for you to do is give us a try on your next listing. Use the code Super Cyber Stoppers. I love that. You don't even have to spell it right. Super Cyber, CYBER, Stoppers. And we'll give your client a discount on the closing fee if you use that rate. I hope this is helpful. It's something obviously I'm a bit passionate about. Be glad to share the white papers, which I did not create. I'm telling you, they came from my tech department. They're those guys, but I'd be glad to share it with you. If any of you have any questions, now would be the time to ask. I had a few more people come on I didn't get to say good morning to before we started. So for those of you that joined us a little late, good morning, very good morning. And I forgot to look before we got on to see what next week's subject's going to be, but we'll be back here next week to teach another class and talk about more areas of the law. Let me just look real quick while I'm seeing if any of you have any questions. Yes. Oh, next week's going to be fabulously interesting to people interested in estate planning. And that's going to be about the role of the corporate trustee. I have a special guest who's going to join me to talk about that so you can understand why a person with special training might be especially beneficial to a family who is working their estate plan through a trust. If you're interested in learning more about trusts or any other subject that we have spoken on, the videos are at rocksolidlaw.com/videos. And you can check them out there. Hey, I'm not seeing any questions. I can't believe I was had that level of clarity this morning, but I'm delighted I did. Once again, thanks to all of you guys for joining us. Celebrating 30 years of practice here at the beaches, independent practice after 7 years of working for other people. I am John Miller, founding attorney with Rock Solid Law, Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And I just sincerely appreciate all of you joining in, especially Lionel Richie, right? Estate planning, real estate transactions, small business representation. I hope you give us a call. Thanks so much, you guys. Appreciate your participating.